Alright, so I wanted to make a quick video that basically described the thought process that went into building the chicken tractor that I built, as well as the basic design of the thing. Anything fairly complicated like this, I like to build in SketchUp, if possible, ahead of time so I can get a good materials list and see where I'm going to run into problems. So that's what I've done here. The entire thing is basically 2x4 construction with plywood for the hen house. I wanted to make it as simple and cheap as possible with the materials I already had on hand as much as possible. Additionally, this chicken tractor has to be able to house my chickens through the winter in northern Michigan. I plan to place the entire tractor on top of the brooder slash deep litter box that I built in a previous video. The layout has to match that box, and the overall design is intended for the birds to be able to live both in my yard and in the garage during the winter when the snow starts to pile up. So simple and cheap wound up meaning things like not using brackets, but instead just cutting chunks of 2x4 to make connection brackets for butt joints and things like that. I'm not using any fancy joinery here at all. I'm using anti-fancy joinery. A notched 2x4 to join these three boards together. That said, those joints are quite strong. I can actually climb on top of it, and it'll hold me just fine. The basic idea here is a small hen house with 2 nesting boxes and 3 roosts inside. There should be enough room in here. I just sort of sketched in the roofs. They actually wound up going, 2 of them are diagonal and 1 of them is straight across. The basic idea was to give me enough room for, say, 4 to 8 chickens maximum. 8 if they're, small chickens. We wound up ordering 6. The yard for the chickens, I wanted to extend under the hen house, so instead of having the hen house go all the way to here and have it be this, 3-foot high thing with a small yard in front of it, I thought I would elevate the hen house. That would make it easier to work in and not substantially heavier, to add that extra 2 feet of 2x4 underneath it to make it higher. And at the same time, it would give the chickens a spot that's protected from the rain that's still outside. And I think that wound up being a very good design idea. My feeder extends underneath this, so it's protected from the rain in multiple ways, and the birds can't perch on it either, so they can't poop on top of it. There are a few things I wish that I had done differently with this. If I were buying all new materials, I would make this all out of 2x3s, and I had the worst thing I did was that I had 3/4 inch plywood laying around, and I had a fair amount of it. I really should have made this hen house out of 1/4 inch plywood or T111 siding. The 3/4 inch is extremely heavy, and that's where most of the weight of the entire setup is. Additionally, as it absorbs water over time, it's going to absorb that much more water. So this is only going to get heavier with time. That made mounting wheels on this a bigger challenge. It makes moving it a bigger challenge. I can move it fine. I suspect my wife could move it without too much trouble, but my kids certainly can't. So yeah, I really wish I had cut weight on this substantially. I guess it's a live and learn kind of deal, and like I said, I wanted to use the materials that I had rather than spending a bunch of money on new stuff for it. Total cost for this wound up being, if I had to buy everything new for this, the price would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 to $400, depending on what you made it with. If you made it with thinner plywood, it would be cheaper. If you made it with 2x3s instead of 2x4s, it would be cheaper. Making it with 2x2s, oddly enough, would not only make it weaker, but also places like Home Depot sell 2x3s cheaper than 2x2s. It's difficult to find straight 2x2s as well. So that's it. I'll be making a few more videos showing the construction of this and the final product eventually. Thanks for watching.